Alrighty guys, it's Jalan from the Paradox Gaming Network, and today is Electricity Part 2 for 7 Days to Die. This should all look familiar. It's exactly where we were last week. I promised we were going to talk about switches, timers, and motion sensors this week, as well as some of the other traps. Now, big thing is I talked about the basics last week, and if people have followed that and laid in their circuits, you are going to have to double back and tear up your circuits to lay in these new things. You have to break the connections. The good news is that you only have to break the parent to child connection to put in the new child, and that new child becomes the new parent. So first thing I want to do is I want to use a timer relay. And the reason why I want to use this timer relay is because you probably don't want to have your lights on 24 hours a day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break this connection. And as you can see, my light goes off. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to wire in my electric timer. And then from my electric timer, I am going to wire in my spotlight. Now, as you can see, I have power coming and I have a good connection going, but I have no wattage. Light is off because it's trying to draw 0. Light is on because it's trying to draw 5. Now, come over here, open up my relay. What times do I want the things on? Do I want them on all day? What time do I want them to start? What time do I want them to end? Now, really good thing about timer relays is they draw 0 watts of power, so you can use these as extenders. As last week's video, I needed to get power to that end one, and I didn't have it, so I had to put in another light. Well, I could more easily do that with some of these other components. So it is 1829, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say the start time is going to be 1800. And as you saw right there, right up here in the corner, the light turned off because I've gone to 1900. I come to 1800, the light turns on. No matter which configuration it's in, the relay itself draws 0. The light continues to draw 5. So this works really well if you want to have your lights on, say, 2200 to... Oh, which way are we going? I should have gone the other way. Say you want your lights on just at the darkest hours of night, 2200 to 0400. Now, what's the advantage of this? As you can see, 55 watts of power is being drawn because this light is not being used. What time is it? Bring this back to 1830. Light comes on. Now we're using 60. So it helps keep the draw on your generators down without you having to run around and switch everything on and off. Okay, so the next component I want to talk about is switches. Now, switches are really important because of how electricity in 7 Days to Die works. So as I come over here, I have 45 watts of power accounted for out of my battery bank. Now, that is my 2 turrets at 15 each. And then I have these 3 lights at 5 each. Now, I know what you're saying. You're like, Jay, the lights aren't on. Why do they count? Well, they count because they are wired into the circuit and they can be turned on at any time. Now, not exactly 100% true to how real electricity works, but then again, not 100% false either. But I don't want to turn this into a discussion of electricity in the real world. Let's focus on electricity in 7 Days to Die. So say I wanted to have more light here. This just represents the inside of my base, and I want to have a series of lights. Well, I don't necessarily want to have all those lights running all the time and drawing on my battery, drawing on my generator. So what if I threw a switch down, and I've already wired up all these lights on the ground. I'm going to go from my switch to my first light. Now, at 5 watts apiece, and we're at 45, we're going to add 20. This should turn into 65. So when we make the connection from the battery bank to the switch, it stayed 45. Unlike these other lights that draw against the batteries automatically, because I've isolated it with a switch, I can turn the switch on. Now all those lights turn on, and now I have 65 watts of power. So why is a switch useful? Well, if you wanted to have lights all the way down somewhere in your fort, but as you were leaving to go out into the world, hit one switch and they all turn off, as opposed to having to go up to each and every one and turn them all off individually. So my recommendation, learn to use switches, A, for ease of turning everything on and off, but also to reduce the load on your generator and on your battery banks. Alright, so the final electrical component I want to talk about is motion sensors. Now, I don't like motion sensors because of this problem. They don't have the advanced rotation, so I can rotate it, but when I place it, it's just hanging out here, floating in midair. I'm sure they're going to fix it eventually, but that just really, really irritates me. So sometimes in order to use a motion sensor, you end up having to double stack boxes in bad places, and then you end up having it so not exactly functioning 100% right yet as far as placement, but their actual use is pretty good. So what I want to do is I want to disconnect out my turrets, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire from my battery bank over to my motion sensor. Now you'll see that the motion sensor itself draws 5 watts of power. So make sure you factor that in your power plan. And then from the motion sensor, I want to wire in my turret. Now, you're going to say, what's going on here? The motion sensor is on and the auto turret isn't. What's up? Well, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to talk to the motion sensor. Now, you see that green light? The red light, the green light, here's what's going to go on. We're going to go to the options. Now, right now its default setting is self or allies. So what this means is if I'm in front of my motion sensor, my turret gets power. If I walk over here and I walk out of the line of sight of the motion sensor, my turret doesn't get power. So remember, with all that power being used here, now I'm going to turn off this switch, 20 watts of power, and what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to just disconnect out my light, 5 watts of power. The only thing drawing power right now is the motion sensor. Now, I'm going to click into my motion sensor, and as you can see, it has a 180-degree arc. Don't worry about where that blue light is. Just realize you need to have the arc vaguely where you want it. If I put it here, where it's on me, as you can see, it turns on. If I take it and I move it over to the side, it's still going to zoom in over to me. So don't get caught up on the actual arc. Worry about the side to side of the screen. So as you can see, it can't see me now, and my turret doesn't have power. Now, why in God's green earth would I ever want motion sensors? Because it seems like they're just a additional step in that's going to cause problems. Well, the reason why you might want motion sensors is so you can, on one battery bank, have a lot more components all around your base. Because they're only going to draw power when that motion sensor snaps over to me. Now that one's taking 15, and that one's taking 15 because the motion camera can see me. Now how might I want to program this? I definitely want to clear it at first. I definitely want it to target strangers and zombies. That means if a stranger or a zombie walks up near my base, it's going to go off. Now what's the power delay? 1 second, instant, up to 5 seconds. Well, I want no power delay. I want the power to come on immediately. Power duration, how long do you want it on? Well, after it sees me, keep it on. If you want to have an alert if somebody's been near your base, this works really well. You can keep it on always. You can keep it on for an hour. Now, we talked about in our base if we wanted to have lights. Well, what if we did something crazy like this? What if we throw a motion sensor right there? And I'm actually going to connect it off the switch. See, no power. Now it has power. And now it sees me. Remember, I have to go in here and I have to mess with it. Now, I'm going to give me one of these bad boys because I like the way these work. What I'm going to do is I'm going to connect this off the motion sensor. Now, as you can see, that light is on because this motion sensor can see me. As I move away, the light goes off. As we talked about those delays, I can do 10 seconds. So I come in here, it still sees me, it's going to stay on. As I walk away, the light goes back off. If you want to get really clever with your base lighting, you have your motion sensors, your lights can come on with your motion sensors. So that is all for the additional components. Let's show you the really, really fun toys. I love this thing. I don't use it because I think it makes life far too easy. Oh, nope, see, I always want to try to wire from the child. Now, you got to be really, really, really careful with these because there are no options. There's no option. There's no off. There's no friendly. It is mad style. I'm gonna kill you. But as you can see, it doesn't turn on because I'm not in the way. So for this one, I most certainly want to take target self off. So now it doesn't target me, and I can walk around this thing all day long. It does not get power. But as soon as a zombie walks into range, it's going to turn on. But brings up a really good point. I want the light to turn on when I'm in range. I want the blade to turn on. I don't want the blade to turn on when I'm in range. What do? You got to wire in 2 different circuits. There is no if-then conditionals. So that is that wonderful bad boy. Also, you got your dart traps. Got to give it power. Daisy chain off that one. Again, it's not going to turn on because there's no zombies around. Make sure you load it with wonderful darts, and also you got to make sure that you rotate it around properly. You do not want to shoot your darts straight up in the air. These don't work multidirectionally. Make sure you point it to where you want the darts to shoot out from. Because as you can see, again, options, there is no camera on the dart traps. Anyway, guys, I hope that helps with part 2 of electricity. Remember, electricity, you are going to have to buy the skills for it. Electrical basics, circuits and triggers, a battery bank. But remember, if you buy it from Joe, you can still do the wiring. You only need to start buying the you just need to start buying the skills when you want to make it, and chances are you are going to want to make it. There is some other stuff to talk about in electricity, but I want to let this stuff set in, and then hopefully in a couple of weeks when I do my next 7 days video, we can talk about all the remaining aspects. Take care, guys, and don't let yourself get trapped by zombies.
Hey, you. Yes, you. Yeah, you. I'm talking to you. Hit that subscribe button. Watch a couple of more videos. go check out our website.